ready to rock and roll. Okay? So just ahead of time, you will need your books every day except for Wednesday next week. As noted at the bottom of the screen, if there are any suggestions about ways that I can let you know if you're going to need your book or not, I am open to suggestions. I want it to be the easiest for you. Was that a stretch or a suggestion?
No, we're going to school on the 8th.
We are not coming to school on the 8th.
All right.
Yeah. So that is a 2-week kind of scope of where we are going, all of the things that we are going to have that are exciting. I put up there some Hispanic Heritage Month activities, as well as our College Spirit Week. All right. So again, bringing those books, most of us had it today, so that was a great start. What I want us to do is go ahead and open our books back up. If you lost your page, it's page number 38. And I'm going to quickly run through the correct answers, and then I will explain what's up on the board. So, looking quickly at numbers 1 through 5. Number 1 is C. Simply mark a check or an X. Are you ready? Number 2 is B. Number 3 is A. Number 4 is C. And number 5 is D. Quickly, on the top of that paper, write the number that you got correct out of 5. Shout out to William. I see that he got a 5 out of 5. That is a great start to his Friday. If you didn't do as well as you had hoped, that's all right. Shout out to Brian over here. I see he got a 5 out of 5 as well. Now go ahead and direct your eyes on the board. I think we can all calculate what percentage we got correct. But if we can't, they're up here. And what I want us to do now is something called calculating our SMART points. And we're going to get into what that actually means in just a second. But what you want to do is multiply the percent you got correct. You got a 4 out of 5, you had an 80%, so that's a 0.8 by 110. If you need to use your calculator, you can. However, it's pretty simple to find out in your mind. And then that is how many points you just earned on the SAT for this section. Okay? So go ahead and do that math, and right next to your fraction where it says the number that you got correct, please tell me the number of points that you just earned. Take about 20 seconds to do that now. Just a hint, you're multiplying the number that's in the blue box by 11. So if you got if you got a 40, you got 44 points. All right, so as I mentioned, this is what we call SMART points. And what Kaplan has done for us is based on all of the SAT tests that they have seen over the years, they've been able to forecast, Christian, go ahead and stop your calculator. They're able to forecast how many points different topics will show up on the SAT. So, raise your hand if you can tell me about what all of these 5 questions were based on. What topic in math? Raise your hand when you have an idea. We'll wait for a few more. What was the topic that was assessed in these 5 questions? If you need to flip through your book to look at the context clues, go ahead and do that now. Take 10 seconds, come up with your prediction of what were these 5 questions testing. Yes, push your table mates, take another 10 seconds, come up with what you think it was testing. Unit 1, but what? Part of algebra, what else? Algebra 1. Alrighty, go ahead and bring it back in 2. Our voices are off in 1. So I heard a few good things. David, what did you say that this was testing? What? Unit 1, which was? Good, and then I heard Brian push his table mates a little bit more. What did you say then?
Equations in general.
Equations in general, and what did I just see on our book here? Did you find something a little bit even more specific? Looking at these problems, I want you to be able to identify that it's asking about linear equations. Okay, so that has to do with algebra. If you were able to figure that out, that's wonderful. And we're going to be covering just some basics of linear equations today. Okay, so put our eyes back on the board. You could have also used that context clue as well. For linear equations, there are 110 points available to you on that math SAT. What you just did, those 5 equations, or those 5 questions rather, is how many points you could have gotten out of 110. So there are 2 all-stars, that at least 2 that I saw, that got 110 points. You should have been able to calculate that. If you got 5 out of 5, you earned that. Who can raise their hand and tell me the minimum number of points you can score on the SAT? If you sit for it, how many minimum points can you get in the math section? Morgan?
400?
Math section.
Oh,
Cut it by 2. You got it.
200.
What?
200.
200. Okay, so you start with 200, and if you just got a 5 out of 5, you just earned 110 points. You are already at 310 points for your math section. Okay, so it seems a little bit weird, but smart points is something that we're going to come back to. Go ahead and silently read the quote that is up on the board. Once you have read that quote, look what's in the box. Think silently to yourself. How will smart points help us on our SAT practice? Silently think that to yourself, and I want you to jot your answer down below number 5 in your practice. Bless you. Yep, you're answering the question in the blue box underneath number 5. You've got 10 more seconds to finish up your independent thought. All right, now when you're at your table, go ahead and share out and come up with one answer. How will smart points be able to help us on our SAT practice? Talk to those at your table. 1 minute, go.
No.
It doesn't exactly work like that, so we'll go on, yeah. If you can't apply that same thing, then that is a great question. Like, you can't apply every 5 questions, there's 110 points available. It's just that. Yeah. Good question.
I know what you look like.
That's common misconception. So it's not that you can only get points from these 5. So I'm going to have to get Alrighty, let's turn those voices off and come back together. In 3, we are silent. In 2, and 1. Thank you. Okay, can I have a raised hand for a prediction of how these smart points are going to be able to help us with our practice? Morgan, thank you.
We know that we've broken, like, we know our scores and we know our goal scores, so now that we can see, it's more now broken down, so we know the prediction score we need to be on college readiness, like on track for math. So if we have more broken down, we know how much points we can get in each category, so it's helping us achieve our goal of trying to reach, it's trying to help us achieve our goal of trying to reach that score that we're looking for.
Okay, great. One key word that you said there was category. Okay. One thing that I just wanted to clarify though, that I saw around a few groups, this idea of smart points is a little bit tricky at first, and I want to like totally say that and recognize that in full transparency. It doesn't mean that every 5 questions that you do, you're going to be able to get 110 points. That is not what it means. Okay? What it means is that there are 110 points available scattered throughout the SAT math section that can be earned from linear equations. There are some sections that a whole topic of geometry can only earn us 30 points. So, up here, if I know that linear equations is worth 110 points, and I know that geometry is worth 30 points, Crystal, which one of those, which topic, linear equations or geometry, should I spend more time on? Linear equations, exactly right. Because there are so many more points to be earned here. And so the purpose of this slide and the purpose of Smart Points are to help us prioritize where we spend our time in our SAT math practice. Okay, so if you did not use those words yet, underneath number 5, please write that Smart Points help us prioritize our math practice. The key word there is prioritize. Once you write that down, you can track me over here, so I know that you're writing. Thank you, William, for looking over here, and Karen, and Christian, are almost there. Good. One thing that we broke down on our wall is the number of questions that are available in each section. Also for math, we broke down the topics that were covered and the skills. We found, and what I pointed out last week, that there is a section called additional topics that the SAT breaks down for us that is only 6 questions on the whole thing. And it tells us that the subject tested in those 6 range from angles to area and perimeter to all of geometry to special right triangles. If we know that there are 6 questions scattered throughout the SAT on all of those different subjects, do you think it is thumbs up, a good idea to spend time getting all of those points, or thumbs down? Show me. Is it a good idea to focus on those 6 questions? Waiting for you guys to make a decision. You can discuss it at the table. We're not having enough participation. Thank you, Morgan, for having your thumb, but talk about it at your table.
Would it be good to focus on those 6 questions in areas?
Does it make sense to do that?
You focus on those 6 questions.
Why?
I want to play our reasoning. It's too good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Courtney, do we have enough time for all of those? You could? You're pretty fast, so maybe you do. Do you have enough time to cover all of those?
Why are you here by yourself?
Good idea to focus on that? Why not? Because. Good. All right, you turn off those voices. I'm coming to you. Karen. In 2, we're listening to Karen. Rationale in 1. Go ahead, Karen.
Instead of listening, you're not supposed to spend time on those 6 questions because you're just wasting time, and there could be other questions that could have more points than those.
Okay, so there are more questions, but also when we're in here, we want to make sure that we spend our time focusing on the topics like linear equations, like systems of equations, that make up a larger portion of the test. If we spend a whole class on angles and you find out that it's only 1 question on the SAT, we just use 50 minutes to answer and get you, could be 10 points, right? It's all about prioritization. Yeah.
But wouldn't you want, if those are like some easy subjects, why wouldn't you want to just attack those problems and get those taken up points if they're easy?
Yeah, if it's easy for you, right? And so you won't know exactly what is covered, like the whole topic of geometry. You won't know what exactly is covered until you get that test. And if that is easy for you, we're going to talk about a strategy. Great, do that first. However, if we're going to spend class time in here, I can't teach you the whole subject of geometry in 50 minutes, right? I can, however, review linear equations. That could get us 110 points versus 20 points. Okay, so we're going to revisit this. I understand that it is a little bit foreign for us, but it will be something that we revisit. All right, that being said, raise your hand if you got number 1 correct on RG first today. All right, we're looking about under 20%. So we're going to talk through this because this is the basic knowledge that you needed to answer the rest of the questions. Okay, so please follow along in your book and you can make corrections as you go if you did not get it correct the first time. Okay, linear equation, to make it simpler, we want to pay attention to exponents. Show me on your finger, what should the exponent be of a variable if it is going to be a linear equation? Be confident, Brian. You got it. You put it right up there. You listen to my instruction. If we are looking at a linear equation, everybody put a 1 up on their finger. The exponent there is 1, and we don't always write that exponent, but it is there. Okay? So we are going to use a strategy in this problem, you can put your thumbs down or your fingers down, that I abbreviate as POE. Do I have any predictions with a quiet raised hand of what that strategy is? Brian, you're on a roll. What is it?
Look at the ones that have a 1 on it.
Yeah, and then cross out the incorrect ones.
Process of elimination.
Yeah.
Talking about the look at the one.
So you probably have done this before without realizing it, or maybe you did realize it. But when we come to SAT, we're going to call it PO, process of elimination. So Brian and all of you guys just showed me on your finger that we are looking for an exponent that is equal to 1. Then we can cross out any exponents that are not equal to 1 because we know that that cannot be linear. Okay? If we have a variable in the denominator, what exponent is it having? This might be a little bit more complex. If we put a variable in the denominator, if we wanted to move it to the numerator, what exponent would it have? What is that, Morgan? A negative 1?
Yes. No. Never mind.
Go ahead, Brian, you have rationale.
It's the inverse.
It's the inverse, which is?
-1.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so you were right. I wanted to tell you for a second, okay? So that is not correct. We can go ahead and cross that out. Cross out A. Then we look at B. What is the exponent if we are taking the square root?
2.
Nope.
Square root of 2. Wait.
Anything that we are taking the square root of, it is also to the 1/2. Okay, so we're reviewing some of our algebra here. Look at C. It's not written, but what is our exponent here? It's 1. What is our exponent here? Cross it out. You could have used process of elimination to cross out A, B, and D, or if you already knew that you were just looking for the exponent to be equal to 1, you could circle C right off the bat. William, why did you circle C? What caused you to think that was the right answer?
I isolated X, and then I plugged it into the calculator, and I looked it up.
Okay, he plugged it into the calculator, and you could have done that. However, I would argue that that took a lot more time than if I were to recognize that a linear equation has a 1, the exponents are equal to 1, and then I can just I spy which one that is. All right, so the strategy that we are using there is process of elimination. So what I want us to do on that white paper that you picked up as you came in, that is becoming our SAT strategies 1-pager. As I get mine. On the front side, I want you to write SAT strategies up at the top. Then, any which way you would like to write it, I want you to write a number 1 and process of the elimination. This is mine, kind of a strategy sheet. Yours can look however you would like. But it is a way for us to keep track of all of our SAT strategies in one place. So if we're keeping it all in one place, Nancy, do you think we should should keep this paper? Not Nancy. Do you think we should keep this paper? We're keeping all of our strategies in one place. What? Yeah, thank you.